Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle, and Ryan Holmes is RHOLM22 on Twitter. Those breakdowns, all that stuff like that. We're gonna go jump right into the Raiders here, and people say I'm not happy on this show, but we're gonna be. I'm like I said, 5-7 ain't gonna make me happy. So so if they can get to 500, get to some big games down the stretch, maybe get a little help in the AFC, maybe I'll be a little bit happy. I'm not gonna. You ever see Saturday Night Live skit the dating skit they had called Lowered Expectations? It's pretty fun. It's hilarious, but I'm never gonna lower my expectations. I have high expectations, so they got to come through. So let's just thank you guys for subscribing to the channel and the podcast. We appreciate all that. 5-star reviews, all that stuff like that. Like, comments, some comments we can go over too as well. But we're gonna go over I got 4 downs of questions that I want to roll through with Ryan real quick. What's more sustainable? Adams is the tear that Adams is on, or the tear that Jacobs is on?
I'm going to lean towards Adams just because I think the Raiders are going to get it to be into more shootouts. They're going to be throwing the ball more as we get down the stretch here. And some of the teams they're coming up against, New England, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, they can stop the run. So they're going to be, I think you're going to see a lot more play action over the next month or so and try to get the ball down the field, especially if Waller and Renfro come back and the Raiders have more options in the passing game. Because right now it's run the football, find Adams, hit him over the top on a trick play, hit him on a post. And it's working for now, but I still think that it's going to be easier to get Adams open once the other receivers come back. And then there's going to be teams that are just going to want to take away Jacobs, and they're going to try everything they can to do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think even when you saw 2 players rolling with Adams, he's just gonna cut underneath it, like you saw in the Seattle game, like you saw in the Denver game too. Like he's not gonna go crazy trying to go bust through that. I think he talked about it being he's a professional at beating double coverage. Like he just so it's hard to take him away. Do you think this organization got caught between the T word and the P word as far as that goes? As far as tanking or trying to stay together and make a playoff run?
That's an interesting question because if you look back at when they were 2-7, there's a lot of interesting choices made that week. Renfro going on IR, we didn't even know he was really injured.
Yeah.
Waller was 2 weeks of practice, and all of a sudden he disappears onto IR. Blake Martinez retires. There was a couple other guys that went on IR. So I don't think the coaches or the players ever went into the T word mode. Maybe some of the higher ups in the organization saw the direction of the season and said, okay, let's hedge our bet here a little bit in case we can get into a better draft position. But at the end of the day, these are professional athletes that have careers. A lot of these guys are on 1-year deals. And remember, the Raiders only have 31 guys under contract next year. So 20 plus guys on this roster are going to be free agents. So they're playing for their next deal. So I don't think the players themselves ever went into the T word.
And I think also you look at a game like the Saints and the Bucs the other night. Like the Saints are done. They're not making the playoffs, even in that bad division. And look how hard they played in that game. They were making as many plays as they could to try to beat the Bucs in that one. Who would you say is the unsung hero of this team so far?
On offense and defense?
Yeah, go ahead.
One guy from each side.
Yeah, I mean, the special teams guys all cancel each other out because they're all just so really good. But yeah, give me one on offense, give me one on defense.
I go defense. I got John Harmon. He just seems to be in the right place at the right time, causing fumbles, getting interceptions, and he's kind of been the glue on the back end because there's been a lot of different corners that have come through. Obviously, you've had Abram got let go, so he's had to assume multiple roles back there. He's played strong safety, he's played free safety. Just calming veteran on the back end. On offense, I'm gonna say Derek Carr. Just what he's had to go through this year with the offensive line being all over the place and getting the ball to Adams here over the last couple of weeks. Early in the season, he just didn't look comfortable. He wasn't
Mhm.
playing well. Let's call a spade a spade. He wasn't playing well,
Yeah.
and he's kind of turned around here with the running game, the play action, and obviously, he has Devontae Adams, who's one of the, if not one of the top three, the best wide receiver in the game, and he's found a way to get him involved. But if you want to go back and look at the first 5 weeks, there was 2 games where Devontae Adams had like 12 yards and
Yes.
2 yards. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
remember how that's even possible. The fact they couldn't get him the ball.
Yeah.
And then think about where Jacobs is at. They didn't even run the ball 2 of the first 3 weeks, and the guy's leading the league in rushing. So I think they
That's
found an identity.
yeah.
I wish they would have found it earlier, but
Yes.
they found an identity to win games right now.
It's funny because like you look at their numbers, and I was in a Raiders space the other day, and I was like, if he just gets 100, he gets 130 yards a game here on out, which is not easy. But if he did, he had 2,000 yards, and he got nothing the first 3 weeks. Like if he just got at least 80 yards in some of those games, he'd be fine. And Devontae, I mean, those games where he didn't catch, wasn't the Arizona game? He only caught 2 balls in the
There was a
Arizona
game where he
game.
had like 1 catch for 3 yards. It was on like a
Yeah,
quick
yeah,
screen early in the
it was
season.
crazy. It was nuts. It was nuts as far as that goes. For me, I mean, I'm gonna go with I think Unsling here. I'll probably go with Illuminor. I kind of like the last weeks. I think he's been really coming on and doing a solid job against some of these pass rushers. So as far as that goes, let's see here. What would be the grade for the 2022 draft class?
The draft class, well,
It's
we
not
can't
much really.
include Adams as much as we want to. They didn't
We
have a
can.
first or second round pick. So if we want to just go from the third round on, I'm gonna say this will probably surprise you. I'm gonna say D plus right now.
Yeah.
Um, let's look at the players. Like, Parham has been okay. Like, he hasn't been a world beater by any stretch. He's been
Yeah.
okay. Like, there's games he's been up, he's been down. Zamir White doesn't even play, really. Britton Brown doesn't play. Thayer Munford played a little bit. He was okay, but there's not a difference maker in that draft class.
No.
And I get it.
No.
They didn't have a first or second round pick, but they have a couple guys that might stick on the roster for a few years here, but I don't see guys that are like slam dunk second contract guys. Not yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you there. I think it's pretty low, but I mean, I think next year he'll have his full allotment. He'll have everything, have all the entire draft to kind of go over
Right,
and
right.
and play with here. All 22. We love certain things on this show. We love, and one of the things we do love on this show is when you get a turnover, you attack the defense. Right after that. So first play I'm gonna go over is kind of the stutter and go,
Yeah.
the touchdown that he just runs patterns so beautifully. It's great to watch Adams at work. What are your thoughts about this play? I don't know you had on your Twitter.
Yeah, it's called a stork route, because he's doing the stutter at about 10 yards instead of 6 to 8. So the Raiders in their playbook have 2 different stutter goes. This would be the stork version, but this is right after the turnover where Harmon forces the fumble and Hobbs gets it. They come out, it's too high. They're in cover 4 here, and the key to this route is Holland's on the inside, getting the inside release and running the seam, because that pulls Derwin James. Derwin James' responsibility in this defense is number 2 vertical. So he has to run with Hollins, and that gives you one-on-one coverage on the outside and Devontae Adams. You can kind of see like it's a stutter go, but when he gets to the level of the cornerback, he has to get in front of him. He has to stack him. So that's kind of why he goes to the left a little bit and kind of veers.
Yeah.
And because he has to get the corner on his back, and then Derek Carr puts up there, and Devontae Adams makes a great catch.
Yeah, great play, great design, all that stuff there. Good job by Derek Carr putting it on him, putting the ball on him, giving him a chance to make a play on that one. So, do we have like some, is Patrick Graham like trying to get a little bag here now? He got, we're blitzing all the time, or is somebody going to confuse him with Buddy Ryan? Like, what's going on? I'm seeing the number 20. I saw number 20 back in the day at SC. What's he doing now for Patrick Graham?
Yeah, so Isaiah Palamau, the rookie, actually played in this game more than he had all year. And this was interesting. When I got done watching the defensive tape this week, the first thing I thought is, am I watching the Dolphins with all this cover zero look?
Yeah.
Or is this like really the Raiders? Because they haven't done this at all the entire year.
Yeah.
And on this specific play, and the key to this is when you notice that they had cover zero looks, this is actually a cover 1 look because the safety's deep. They don't have everybody at the line. But the interesting part about this is the blitzes are coming. It's a sim pressure, so they're still bringing 4 and they're dropping 3 out. But it's based on if you watch where the center goes. So if the center goes to his left, then Nichols and Perryman drop because they're to the left. So they're reading the line. So the line's going to slide left, so those rushers are dropping and they can overload the other side. They did this a few times in this game. So had the center gone to his right, Palomar wouldn't have blitzed. He would have dropped. Perriman would have come. So the B gap rusher, either Perriman or Holmes, was reading the center. And on this one, they drop out. It's an interesting defense behind. It's something they haven't done all year. Like there's a crossing route here where Harmon actually cuts the crosser. So you want to say it's like cover 1 cross, but it wasn't. It's kind of a hybrid cover 3. Is it cover 4? I really still don't know what they were doing on the back end because they dropped the 3 out. They're playing zone underneath. But Palomar comes right through the B gap because the center went to his left, runs through the running back, gets to the quarterback. I don't really know what Merrick, I think he's supposed to come initially, but for some reason, when they set this up, he came in motion with the tight end to make it look like it was cover 1. So they want to show that they're playing man. And I think he kind of reacts quickly to the tight end and realizes, oh, I have to come because the center went that way. It's my job on this side to come. So then he comes late, but then he easily gets past the tackle and gets to the quarterback, makes him step up.
I was gonna say I didn't know if that was like, was he just late or was it by design? But it seemed like he was.
I think he was late.
It was late. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say.
Because the underneath guys that drop, so you have Crosby, Nichols, and Perriman, they're not playing man, they're playing zone as they drop and you watch the play develop from the other angle. They're playing zone on the back end because you see the slot. He actually becomes the deep middle defender. Harmon cuts the crossing route. Yeah. And then on the outside, they're playing zone too. So it's some sort of fire zone. I don't know what the difference is. We're here when they handed off the crossing route, but it's something they haven't done all year. And I'm wondering why we're seeing this in week 12 or 13 on tape when they were literally running basic defenses the first 12 weeks. But they blitzed. I think Pro Football Reference gave them credit for 17 blitzes, and there was some dog blitzes with the linebackers. There was a lot of times where both backers came and cover 1, and then one would peel off with the running back if he went out. If he stayed in, they both came. So they blitzed a lot in this game.
And then Perryman had one where I know that he that Justin Herbert's a big guy, but like I know that blitz hurt. That was he pounded him on that one. But good to see him come after the quarterback. I mean, good to see. I mean, you can't just rely on Max Crosby to be your designated pass rusher. You got to get other people involved. It's good to see that they're doing things like that. So you mentioned Moreg, Trayvon Moreg. Let's see what else you got for us in this one. Next one.
Yeah, this was Merrick's best game of the year, in my opinion. And he's kind of taken the strong safety role that Abram had. So he's basically playing the Abram role in this defense where he's not just playing like last year in cover 3, he just played the post safety. He's not doing that. They're moving around. He's playing man. But here, initially they show too high when the receiver comes in motion. They're actually in cover 1 here. They played a lot of cover 1, cover 3, which is exactly what we asked them to do on the podcast last week. But if you watch Merrick, like, his responsibility is the tight end in cover 1 here. And as soon as he sees the tight end block, he fires. He triggers downhill. There's no way that this receiver, Keenan Allen, can make the block. And he triggers and he hits the guy in the backfield. And I think he gets 1 yard here. But we haven't seen these kind of instincts and quick reactions from Merrick yet. So hopefully he's picking up this defense. They're asking him to do a lot more. And he's actually the last 2 or 3 weeks starting to play better. This is the guy they thought they were getting in the second round last week. So we need to see more of this. But if he can develop and be a slam dunk starter going to the next year, that's one less position. But I love this play because initially it looks like it's going to be cover 3. It's actually cover 1. You see the safety rotate through in man coverage when you send goes in motion with the wide receiver, and then Merrick's responsible as the tight end. When he sees the tight end block, he fires. So I just thought it was a great play to put out there, just to kind of see like some of the individual plays these guys are making.
Yeah, I mean, I love seeing that. I mean, because he's so physically gifted that you just want to see him improve and keep things going. So yeah, thank you for that, Ryan. The joy of watching bad teams tape is just incredible. I gotta love it. But one thing I would say is like one of the trademarks of a Sean McVay offense is that wide zone. So you see here 11 personnel. They gave the football to Cam Akers here, and then this is where like the Raiders could get a little bit in trouble here if they don't take care of themselves of other gap assignments here. He easily gets through and then kind of bounces his way through. has that little bit of the phone booth thing with that Josh Jacobs has, like where he can get in and out of some plays here. Because the first contact here, point of contact, somebody could have made a play in the backfield, but he was able to kind of bounce for a little bit and then get through and get a nice 8-yard gain. They ran the ball decently against Seattle, so we'll see if that continues. One of the staples of that, I go on the next play. One of the staples of this offense too is that jet sweep. So it's kind of a progression. This is the same drive. The jet sweep with Tutu Atwell. The wide zone, he cuts it back, gets 10 yards up the middle. Play it one more time, and then like that's kind of like he's just trying to set up more things later on, McVay. And also you always see McVay have that bunch formation. Everybody's in like like Thanksgiving dinner. They're all crowded at the table. As far as that goes. And then you see he sends that the wide receiver in motion. And on the third play of the drive, these are all 3 consecutive plays on the opening drive. Let's get that one up here. You'll see the ball go. He'll hand it off this time to Atwell, who picks up a nice gain, 8 yards on that. Personnel grouping pretty much the same. The wide receiver now is not bunched. He's out. He's out past numbers. Really good block by Van Jefferson on this play. We'll see one more time from the back view. Puts him in motion and they just hand it right off to him. And it really puts the defensive tackle in conflict. He's kind of like this, like playing defense in basketball. He's not really doing much because he's waiting for the running back to get the ball, but they give it to the jet sweeping Tutu Atwell, who goes up the sidelines as well. So we don't know who's actually. I mean, they're doing a good job of like kind of like seeing, like kind of playing hide and go seek who's going to be the actual quarterback this week. So we'll see if it's Baker Mayfield. If it's Woodruff, I think is not an option, or it's Bryce Perkins. So we'll see. I mean, it's not really great options for them, but they sold out for the ring last year. That's what and it worked. They got the ring, so they're paying the price for it this year. But I guess I would take that too if I was the Raiders. I would take a championship and then have a 3-win season after that, as far as that goes. But the running game is going to be important to continue to stop doing that. Because they continue to stop them from running the football is going to be huge. And that when he's with that wide zone, when you got to have somebody sitting there waiting for that cutback, because he is looking for that cutback. I watched a bunch of different runs by Cam Akers. He's looking for the cutback. He's not necessarily running that play where if it's stretched to the left or right.
Yeah, this whole offense is based on the wide receivers blocking, the wide receivers coming across, the wide receiver jet sweep fake zone. The Raiders are going to have to stop a zone running team this week, and they haven't really played one recently. Mm-hmm. So the key is going to be on the linebackers, the big nickel. They're going to have to get involved in the run game. Roger Team or Nate Hobbs when he lines up inside 11 personnel, because they could cut these back and get big gains. The Raiders have stopped the run really well, but they haven't really played this type of scheme in the last couple of weeks. So hopefully they still have to stop the run, because whoever's playing quarterback for the Rams this week is not Matt Stafford. We know that. It's probably not Watford. We're looking at, if it's Perkins, I would be most concerned about him running and getting out on the edges and using his legs. I hope they throw Baker Mayfield in there. He doesn't know the offense. He's not a threat to use his legs. He's a sitting duck. So he doesn't know any of these wide receivers.
But he thinks he's good. He thinks he's good, but he also thinks that he's a runner. Like at Oklahoma, Big 12, you can run the football. He actually thinks he's faster than he actually really is. So that's something to think about too as well. Anything from the win, probably the most complete one they've had this year, from last week's game against the Chargers. The Chargers at home against the Dolphins, so we could probably be hoping the Dolphins do help us out there. But anything else from that game that kind of stood out to you when watching all 22?
Just the defensive game plan. Where has this been? Like, I literally was texting you, like, they're blitzing, they're coming from everywhere. They put everyone up on the line like we've been asking for. They're showing cover 0. They're spinning out of cover 0 into cover 3. They're playing a ton of man in cover 1. They're bringing linebackers on rundowns. I haven't seen this at all. Like I was
Yeah.
shocked when I turned
Yeah.
on the tape because
Yeah.
I remember in the recap, I'm like, I got to see what they were doing, and just reading which way the line's sliding, we're coming from the other side. It didn't matter. Like everyone was on the same page, and then I think maybe they couldn't do some of this stuff with Abram on the field because he just couldn't pick it up. But like it seems like, and
Yeah.
I know we joked the week after, but since Abrams left, the defense has actually played okay.
Yeah.
And I think Jayon Brown had his best game because they just played a lot of man. He wasn't playing zone, running around and being in the wrong spots. And obviously, the defensive line had a really good game. They were teeing off. Everything's easier when Chandler Jones is getting a quarterback because now you have Crosby and Jones and the interior push of Tillery and Nichols. So this offensive line from the Rams is beat up just as much as the Chargers were. So, and there's a quarterback behind that line. It's either going to be a first or second, a young guy in this league or Baker Mayfield. So this defense should tee off again.
Yeah.
They still give up too many plays at times, but they should be able to handle this Rams offense when they don't even have Cooper Kupp either. So basically, it's Tyler
seriously.
Higbee, and I'd watch for a lot of stuff to the backs in this game just to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. If the Raiders can tackle in space, they're going to win this game pretty easily.
And I look at this, Billings, no Billings this week because the game status is already out. No Billings this week. No Jayon Brown, who, unfortunately for him because he had his best game. Horfstead is not going to be there. And looks like Rocky Sin is not going to play as well. For the Rams, no Aaron Donald. Troy Hill is questionable. Trayvon Howard, Terrell Lewis is not in there. David Long Jr. is not there either. This team is not, and most importantly, Matthew Stafford ain't playing. So
and Aaron Donald's not playing.
Aaron Donald's not playing. So I'm not sure. If number 5 could, he can cover, he can do whatever he wants with and try to shut down Devontae. But Devontae, I think Devontae's kind of. I think Devontae's been the cool thing about what's going on with his explosiveness right now is he's going through like a little bit of a not a full gauntlet of top corners, but Asante Samuel Jr. is a good corner. So is the kid in Denver. So he's kind of but like he said, they're not there yet. They're not there yet, as he screamed to the camera on after the game winner, as far as that goes. Let's see here. Anything?
Yeah, if they can handle Leonard Floyd off the edge, like there's really not another pass rusher on this roster.
No, they can drop there.
They just have to figure out how to avoid Bobby Wagner in coverage over the middle of the field. He's an all-pro type player, and Jalen Ramsey. But Raheem Morris is going to mix it up. He's not going to make it easy, but they just don't have the talent on either side of the line right now. On the offensive or the defensive line, I think right now to handle the Raiders. I know it's weird saying that, but I think the Raiders have a distinct advantage with their offensive line going up against this defensive line and then their defensive line going up against the Rams offensive line. It might be the only time the rest of this year where we can say that.
Do you think that, there's no possible way that this team, the Raiders, could possibly be overlooking the Rams here? Like they just, they were not, I know they won 3 in a row, but anything's possible, but there's no way, right? There's not, you can't be looking over the Rams when you're 5-7.
Yeah, we know the Raiders though. When their expectations are high, they don't play well, and when they have no expectations, they do play well. So now the expectations are balancing the other way. When now there is expectations, they need to win this. This should be a layup game for them, especially coming off the big divisional win last week. It's a short week. It's on the road, but there's going to be Raiders fans in the house. I could see this game being closer than the experts think. The line's like 6.5. The Raiders are 6.5 point favorites on the road, but I just don't see how they can lose to this team right now just because of the injuries. Now, if Aaron Donald was in this game and Cooper Kupp was in this game and Matt Stafford was in this game, it's a completely different conversation. But the way the Raiders are playing right now and just turning around and give the ball to Josh Jacobs, play action, get the ball down the field to Adams, they're going to win this game.
Yeah, man, they should. They should be no problem here. Last week also Lockett and Metcalf. Both of those guys had over 100 yards. So, of course, you would think that, I'm not saying that Matt Hollins is going to do that, but you would think that that's not going to happen. But I would think Devontae would be able to get his and they'd be able to move the football. So no word on Waller, no Renfro this week. They're all going to hang out and wait till next week.
So I was driving today and I heard on NFL radio that Wilder will be back next week. So he will not play this week. They reported that he will play against the Patriots.
Yeah,
They didn't. I don't know about Renfro.
And then in that game, that game got moved to Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, or moved to.
Got moved to 1 o'clock on Sunday. It got moved out of Sunday Night Football. It got flexed out.
It got flexed out of Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now it's just a 105 regular boring Sunday kickoff.
What game was what game is there now?
Giants Commanders.
East Coast. What East Coast? East Coast boy. I tell you, we don't.
I have to settle that tie from last week.
I mean, it's funny because you're getting Patriots, you're getting Raiders, you're getting Raiders, Patriots. Like over.
There's a chance that this could be a tiebreaker for the playoffs.
Oh my God, I can't even. The East Coast boy. When East is in the house, oh my God, danger.
I heard today that the Giants have not won a division game. Do you believe that? What are they, 7-5, and they haven't won a single game in the NFC East yet? That's what they said on the radio.
No, I gotta look it up now. No, look it up. While I do that, and let's see here. Let me see here with the Raider. Let's see what the standings are. I always gonna look at the standings anyway. That's kind of
good time to plug Vic Tafur. The Raiders are 3-0 since Vic Tafur came on our show. So if they win again, we may need to get him back on the show.
I know, seriously, that's gonna be hilarious. The Giants they have not won a game in their division. They're 0-2 and they're 0-2-1. The only team is not Giants. I mean, they are both. I guess I can 7-5, 7-5-1 versus 7-4-1. So I guess I could see that. No star power in those games though. Jesus Lord. I mean, my God, you got nothing. You got nothing in there with those.
We just saw that game last week and it ended in a tie.
Yeah, they play back-to-back weeks
with a bye in between. I think
a bye in between.
It's 2 out of 3 weeks.
That's a quirk in the schedule as far as that goes. Let's see here. Will from Instagram, which coaches will return next year? Which head coaches will return next year in the AFC West? I'm
gonna say McDaniels, Andy Reid. That's it.
That's it, right? Yes, that's it. That's it. So, there's Staley. I don't see Staley coming back. I don't see Staley's coming back regardless.
Sean Payton will be coaching the Chargers next year.
I don't.
It's going to happen.
I know. I mean, I'm not concerned about it or whatever. I'm not. He's a good coach. I mean, they're going to be. They'll probably will be better. It'd be interesting to see what happens when that happens. I want to see what they do on the defensive side of the ball if that happens. It'd be interesting to see what happens there as far as that goes. When Mike wants to know when should we be talking about I'll say the P word on I say once you get to 500. I'll talk about the P word.
They have to get to 500.
Yeah, 500. You can't.
They're 2 games behind the Jets with 5 to play. So like they're in the hunt, but they're not in the hunt yet. They still have a little bit of digging to get out of. They need to get to 7-7.
They do, and the Jets do have a very difficult road game.
Buffalo
this week. So as far as that goes, so we'll see. Predictions for this one. I think it's pretty. I might actually predict the Raiders for once. I'm going to pick the Raiders to win this game. I don't know if I can hit on the nose, but maybe by 10, 27-17. Just another. It could be a little bit closer, maybe first halftime, but I think the Raiders find a way to win this game. I just don't know if you go into this game, like how do they not get at least a couple of turnovers in this game? Like from the quarterback, whoever's playing quarterback, like you have to be able to, with the way the pass rush is playing and with the way, Harmon has been pretty good. Harmon's been pretty good in the secondary. I know Hobbs is doing something with it. So they got something still going on with his hand, but you would think that you would get at least a couple of turnovers in this game. They got to drop back. They got to drop back the pass at some point. I did show some highlights earlier of Cam Akers, but Cam Akers still only had 60 yards in the game. Get ahead, force him to throw the football. If you got Baker Mayfield back there, he has a height disadvantage, so you get batted balls balls in the air, maybe get a pick six, something like that. I think the Raiders win this one by 10.
I'm gonna say 30-16. I think they win this by 2 touchdowns, and
30.
I think the offense continues to put up points. I think the defense may score this week, may get a couple of turnovers and plus territory, and then I think the Rams will move the ball at times, but the defense has strengthened up in the red zone the last couple of weeks, so maybe hold them to a touchdown and 3 field goals. So I'm going to say 30-16. I think this game is pretty much in hand by halftime. If this game isn't put away by the start, first 4 minutes of the third quarter, and they get into a dogfight, that tells us kind of where this team's going over the next 5 weeks, because it's not an easy schedule going forward. I know we want to think it is, but they still have to play at Pittsburgh, play the 49ers, and they play the Chiefs the last 3 weeks, and the Raiders basically have to win out.
Brett Notre Dame wants to know, could the Raiders resist Michael Mayer in the first round, even though they have a bunch of different needs? The tight end out of Notre Dame. Could they resist? Would you make that pick if they were?
Yes, I would not make. This team has too many issues to take a tight end. You have Waller, re-sign Moreau if you need to. I know. I'm not drafting a tight end in the first round. They need corners.
They need
everything. A difference maker at linebacker. They need a pass rusher. They need defensive tackles. They could use another offensive lineman. They could use another receiver. Let's look at the receiver room. I mean, what do you have there? Cole's going to be gone. Hollins is on a 1-year deal. Turner's no sure thing. Albert Wilson can't get off the practice squad. It's basically Devontae Adams and a bunch of scrubs right now. And obviously Renfro will be back, but they don't have another option to open up this offense. So, tight end's the last place I would go.
I know. But I think he's a Notre Dame fan. He wants to see, just like me, I want to see a USC player.
I love him as a player.
Me too. I love the guy as a player
on this roster.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do it. I don't do it as well. Anything around the AFC West or the NFL you want to talk about real quick before we? Oh yeah, did you do a prediction? Your prediction,
30-16.
The 30-16. Anything around the NFL you want to hit on? AFC West?
I think it's interesting that we spent all off seasons talking about the AFC West was the greatest division ever. These 4 teams are going to slug it out. The Chiefs are going to win the division this week. They can clinch with 4 weeks to go. So,
which is a good thing.
That's a good thing for the Raiders because we want them to not play their guys the last week. But we're looking way ahead. I don't want to talk about 5 weeks from now, but I think it's still the Chiefs division, the Raiders, and everyone's still chasing them. Mm-hmm. I think the Chargers are who we kind of thought they were. Some questionable coaching decisions. The defense hasn't held up, and then for some reason they're always injured, and they've done it again. They're all injured, and then the Broncos are who we thought we were on this show. We talked about it back over the summer. We thought, why is this team special? We were like, Russell Wilson's not going to change this team. We clearly had them in last place. So I think in the AFC, I know that we want to talk about the P word, but they're still 2 games behind the Jets. There's still a couple teams that are going to have to jump. And best case scenarios, you're staring at the 7th seed either way. So hopefully they make a run. Hopefully those last 2 games at home have meaning. That's all we could ask for at this point is, can those games have meaning? And then, then we'll see what happens. I think the Raiders have put themselves in a good position based on where they were at 2-7. The season to me is still kind of a disappointment if they finish 9-8 or 8-9 because those weren't the expectations. But from what could have happened, I mean, we were talking 5-12 a couple weeks ago. So hopefully they can get into the 8 to 10 win range and kind of turn this thing around and build momentum to go into next year if they don't make the playoffs.
I always look at the points for, points against, and the Raiders could actually, after this game, they actually be ahead of the. They've always been every time I look at the Raiders, they always give up more points than they actually score, and just in the standings. It's the second thing you look at after the percentage point is the percentage, the winning percentage, and they're -4 right now. Denver's only given up 204 points this year. That's how bad their offense has been. They give up in 12 games. They get up 204 points. That's. Oof.
I think my other observation. I almost tweeted this out a couple of days ago. I think there's 7 teams that are clearly looking at a head coaching change. So we're going to see a lot of turnover in the offseason. I count at least 7 that I think are for sure going to make a change.
I was thinking about the same thing too. I seem like. What were your thoughts about the Titans getting rid of their GM and that situation? Because it seemed like they were. I mean, they're 7-5. They're probably, if they just go 500 the rest of the way, they're going to win the division easily. The Titan, the Colts are 4-8, 4-8-1. There's no way the Colts are going to catch them.
Something's going on there that we don't know about and hasn't been reported, because that's a very interesting decision. The timing. When's the last time a GM on a team that's going to the playoffs got fired in December? Like, I can't
Yes,
remember. Like,
exactly.
so there was some sort of power struggle between ownership and the GM, and I don't know if it's AJ Brown. It just happened that it happened the week after AJ Brown went off on them and they lost to the Eagles. Clearly, Mike Vrabel mentioned today that he wasn't part of the process. He didn't even know until it basically happened. So they never came to him and asked him his thoughts. So we're hearing the roster, and there's not a lot of talent left there.
They traded AJ Brown. Didn't even call Vrabel.
No, I mean when they let go of the GM.
Oh, GM. Oh, okay.
So Vrabel wasn't part of that this week. So there's something going on. We'll probably hear about it. The guy was under contract in 2027.
We're still getting paid.
They're paying this guy for the next 4 years, whether they like it or not. So unless he has offset language and someone else hires him. Now remember, he came from New England. So John Robinson could find his way to Las Vegas. There's ties there. He could find his way to Houston. He has ties there. He could go back to New England. So they've had a lot of success, I think, in Tennessee. Now, part of that's the division's been horrendous around them for the last 2 years. But if the Raiders could find a way to bring him in as a consultant, I would be all for it, because they're a very physical team in Tennessee, and that's kind of what the Raiders are trying to build.
Yeah, and they've always played. I mean, they've played the Chiefs really well too, as well. If I am the Baltimore Ravens, I am not in any way whatsoever. I mean, if I'm Lamar Jackson, if I'm not 100%, I'm not touching a football field for the Ravens. I mean, you gotta really, at this point, you gotta kind of figure, it is time to get. I don't know what the situation is with the money. I'm not sure how much he wants, but you can't mess up the payday. Yeah, I think he's done enough. They always win. They always make the playoffs. They're always in the thick of it. You can't risk getting hurt severely in this situation here. You got to make sure your body's right before you even consider stepping on the field. And if it means next season, it just means next season.
I mean, all reports are he wants a Deshaun Watson contract. He wants a fully guaranteed $200+ million deal, which the Ravens just aren't willing to give him right now. So it's going to be an interesting standoff as we go into the offseason.
Oh, you mean a guy who actually who wins and doesn't get involved in stuff outside of football and always can be counted on to be a good teammate, wants more money than a guy who isn't? That's interesting. Interesting concept there. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Well,
how about the fact that Stetson Bennett was born the same year as Lamar Jackson? Stetson Bennett is a finalist for the Heisman. He's 25 years old.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's 25.
He's that old? So is he older than hitting Hooker?
They're close. They're both going to be 25 here pretty quickly. So,
it's funny. I saw. I know, right? I saw a picture the other day. Talk about East Coast and SEC bias. They were like doing the Heisman thing, and they were like, "Oh, should it be Hooker versus Stetson Bennett?" And I'm like, isn't there a quarterback who scored 50 touchdowns who played for USC this year? Are we really just gonna bypass Caleb Williams? I mean, that's just. I mean, in that conversation, like Hendon Hooker and Stetson. I think he only has 20 touchdown passes this year, or something like that. It's weird. That's weird. All right. Ray Nation, this is the Thursday night football, so you should be ready to go. Hopefully we got helped you get ready for that game, but the Raiders should be. I mean, it's not travel is nothing. So I mean, they really don't travel until they go to Pittsburgh. That's about it. They're going to be in this area the whole time, so travel won't be an excuse. They just the same body of work, the same thing they've been doing the last couple of weeks should work against the Rams. I don't see why that would change, Ryan.
No, I think this is a pretty comfortable win. Hopefully we're right. When we have picked the Raiders this year, for the most part,
together. Yeah.
Last week, notwithstanding, we haven't had a lot of success, but everything lines up for them to be able to go on the road and get a victory here.
Yeah, and then this will be their first win in SoFi. So, They gotta,
Preseason notwithstanding. Didn't they win in the preseason?
I think they might win in the preseason, but they got to crack that egg somehow, some way. All right, Ray Nation. Ryan, take care. Have a good night.
All right, take care.